You won't believe the reason why, but you will believe that the courses on building your wealth have an expiring coupon code tonight. Expires tonight, price goes up tomorrow, so use it before it's gone. Hey everyone, me Kevin here. What's the real reason I dyed my hair? Why would I dye my hair? Because after all, look at the comments that I get for having dyed my hair. Some things like, your hair makes it hard to watch. I voted for you. Shake my head. I get one here, love the hair, but generally I get things like this. Have not seen Kevin for some time. Is this his real hair? Why did he dye his hair? The hair is ridiculous. I voted for the yellow-haired YouTuber running for governor. Yeah, I can't take this dude seriously with this hair. Within 50 seconds, wrong. Okay, whatever, we're talking over here. Your advice is as green as your hair. I asked my 5-year-old daughter, do you like his hair? She, is green girl's hair? Yes. Can't take you seriously with that hair. I used to respect this green-haired idiot. Just 'cause you rich don't mean you not dumb, brah. Love the hair, Kevin. Is the hair color symbolic for something? Not judging his look. Just curious if I missed something. Why that color? You are just finding that calculator. You didn't mention Burns. Douche hair. Green hair equals green light to buy more sheep. Kevin, you're gonna kill your hair, bro. Dye your hair back to normal, you effing California liberal douche. Why is your hair yellow? Why is your hair green? Your wife let you keep that hair? Why is your hair green? Did you lose a bet? What the F did he do to his hair? Someone please explain. What the F happened? I haven't actually looked at all of these, and this is just within the last 16 hours. I'm just looking at the recent hair comments. Wow. Okay. So, why? This, oh yeah, every time I see that hair, it makes me feel so unprofessional. Yeah, okay. So in other words, we're doing really good here. I'd say about 9 out of 10 of the comments about my hair are negative comments. So I guess we should finally explain what happened here. So about 3 weeks ago, I decided to dye my hair green. And the thought process went a whole lot like, I should dye my hair green. What shade of green should I use? Okay, let's do it. And the next day, my hair was getting dyed. And it actually took me a while to figure out what changed. Why did I decide I should dye my hair? Because it's something I've never done before. I've never, ever in my life dyed my hair. And what it really came down to was post-election, things changed. And the reason for that was when I first announced that I was going to run for governor, I thought, hey, I could just be normal, silly, crazy Kevin, just like I am, except I'm also going to run for governor. And everybody, when I first announced, was very, very supportive back in May that I was going to run for governor of California. Very, very supportive. Folks were throwing their support at me. I mean, we raised, somewhere around $300,000 in political donations within the first week. It was absolutely incredible. We ended up getting 1 vote for every dollar we spent, which is also extremely incredible. It means that, compared to people like the governor who spent $10 per vote he got, or competitors who spent $5 or $6 per vote they got, it means we're really, really efficient with money, which we expected we would be by leveraging social media, right? And throughout the entire campaign, folks would always leave supportive comments and say things like, Kevin, just whatever you do, don't change. Don't let politics change you, right? And what I realized after doing interviews almost every single day with different news stations, whether it was the SAC-B, the LA Times, the SF Chronicle, Fox National, Kennedy, Newsmax. It didn't matter what agency it was. It could be, NPR, the Wall Street Journal, you name it. I've been interviewed so many times during the course of the campaign. I realized that in every single interview, the goal of the journalists was basically to find something negative they could say about me. So I'll give you a very quick example. I came up with this, in my opinion, incredible plan to finally provide the mental health treatment, the food treatment, the drug treatment, and really the facilities that we need in California, throughout California, to end our homeless crisis by declaring essentially a war on homelessness, by actually helping people, by providing the services they need. Imagine that. Not shipping people to a different area, but providing optional care facilities at different areas right, throughout the state. And then preventing people from being able to sleep on the floor by saying, hey, like, we've got a bed right there for you. You could go, you could leave, just don't sleep on the floor because it's unsafe for you. And put these facilities where people need them. It would clean up so many different parts of California, LA, Venice Beach, Manhattan Beach, you name it. Anyway, I had this plan. And then I also had the plan to introduce financial education to schools, with future schools, where people would learn careers and they would get educated in finances, business sales skills, and other sales skills to be able to actually succeed in the real world, not graduate at 18 with nothing to look forward to but a bunch of student debt or a minimum wage job, right? So these two things were massive priorities for me. Is ending the homeless crisis, because it's ridiculous that the fifth largest economy in the world has people dying in the streets. We have more people dying on the streets in California to homelessness than we do gun violence. And gun violence is deemed an epidemic in California right now. So it goes to show you how bad homelessness is right now. Somebody's got to do something, right? Like what's being done now isn't going to work. And then schools, it's ridiculous that we don't teach financial education, right? About economics before people get to college, or how to balance a bank account, a QuickBooks, to balance your credit card statements, or to make sure that you actually build credit. Anyway, so these were just some of the core priorities. And I think these are priorities that both people on the left and the right could support. The problem was, every single interviewer that I would talk to would end up trying to take my plans and summarize what is a detailed explanation. I mean, I gave what I thought was a summary, and it still took me a while. And they would take my plans and turn them into sort of one-liners. And they would say things like, oh, Kevin wants to introduce financial education to schools. Good luck getting through the teachers' unions. And it's like, well, wait a minute. We have a plan for that. We've already addressed that, and we talked about that in the interview. But they wouldn't talk about the solution in their articles. Same thing happened with the homelessness plan. People would hear that we're creating these facilities to provide services, and journalists would write things like, Kevin's going to lock up all the homeless people. And that's literally not what I said, but those were the sorts of summaries that I would get. And so here I am thinking to myself, oh my goodness, the media seems steadfast on keeping Governor Newsom in power. Because in California, what they don't want is anyone remotely associated with Donald Trump. There's this like Trump fear in California. It's like 70% of Californians are like, oh my gosh, Trump over my dead body, right? It's so crazy. So when there was a Republican running against the existing governor, the governor jumped on that, and he's like, if you elect the other guy, we're going to have a Trump Republican. And it ended up scaring all the Democrats to come out. And I consider myself right in the middle, right? So to me, I don't really care about the far extremes, because I don't think that's what people want. I think we want what's in the middle. But the problem is you can't win an election on the middle. You can't win an election on let's solve homelessness and let's have financial education in our schools. You win an election on if that guy gets elected, you're gonna die. Right? So anyway, and I did a video. Watch my video on breaking all of that down. It's called Becoming President. So just type into YouTube, Meet Kevin Becoming President, and it's a really great breakdown of how the election went, what went well, what went wrong. So I found this sort of journalistic narrative was being regularly scripted. And since then, I've spoken with numerous different anchors, people familiar with news desks, people who manage news desks. And what I found was something that I already had a suspicion of, but it was just reiterated to me, both in person and off the record on the phone or whatever. And these are things, obviously I can't name names here because that would be totally wrong, but what I found in journalism is that journalists want to do whatever they can to make sure that they continue to get the views in what they think is going to be the highest likelihood of success. And so that was, in this election, supporting the governor against the Trump Republican, Larry Elder. And so what that meant was do whatever you could as a journalist to get on the governor's good side, to interview the governor, to throw softball questions at the governor that make the governor look bad, and then to drill anybody else and make them look like an idiot. So any competitor to the governor was, let's misconstrue their plan and make them seem like an idiot while making the governor seem like God, because that's going to let the governor or encourage the governor to let us platform him more with interviews or whatever. And that'll increase our views because people want to hear from our godly governor. That's essentially what went down in media in California. And I heard this from some of the top news stations in California and reporters who are frustrated with the way the process works. They would say, hey, we'd have an entire article written and our managers would change our article and say, no, we're going to say it this way and you're going to have to read that script on air without making any modifications to it. But we're changing it this way because that way it fits their narrative. Oh, that's too hard on Newsom. We're going to soften that. Oh, you want to do a report? Here's a specific example. Somebody wanted to do a report on how there aren't enough U-Hauls at U-Hauls in California because so many people are taking the U-Hauls out of California, but then the U-Hauls aren't coming back. Like usually you would have cars go out and then cars come back, but you're really only having them leave right now. So some U-Hauls have this massive shortage of U-Hauls. Some just don't have any that are available to rent because they haven't been coming back. They're going one way out of California. And an anchor wanted to write a story on this. And they were shut down because that would make the existing governor look bad during the election. Isn't that crazy? So what happened was, and I saw this, even though folks were saying, Kevin, don't change. Whatever you do, don't change, don't change. I found myself catering the way I was explaining myself to journalists. And I had to, any question that I would get asked, I would have to modify the way I wanted to reply to make sure that I wasn't going to be quoted out of context. So, for example, if I would say something like, let's go with this one. We're going to deploy the National Guard to make sure we can provide food to homeless folks where they are. And that was actually what part of my plan was, hey, the National Guard, they don't have to come out with tanks and guns and none of that, right? The National Guard provides services. It's expensive, though, the National Guard, so you have to use it short term. And my goal was, let's just try for 30 days while we build facilities. Let's use the National Guard, give food to all the homeless where they are. We will take all the liability as government. We're going to give food to the homeless folks where they are. We're going to put porta potties up. We're going to have clean clothes. And we're going to make sure no people aren't getting beaten and raped on our streets anymore. We're going to have safe spaces in California again, right? And so it was all part of a transition to eventually have these beautiful built facilities with mental health care, drug care, the services that are really impossible for folks right now. Because homelessness isn't just about here's a house, it's about everything, right? Anyway, I had to be really careful with how I talk to journalists because all they would hear is National Guard facility. Sounds crazy. Like, what? It's not at all what I said. So you had to be really, really careful knowing that the media was not going to be super supportive of you, with the exception of Fox News. Okay, shout out to Fox. They were supportive of me, but in fairness, I helped their narrative of being against the governor. So it kind of makes sense. It just worked in the opposite direction in that case, which was the positive direction. But anyway, I had to become so careful about what I said, when I said it, because I was so worried about being clipped and I was so worried about being judged on a sentence. And that really became, even though, again, people were saying, don't change, Kevin, don't change, Kevin, it became this really, this thing that I didn't even realize was happening, but I kind of transformed into somebody who was always worried about being clipped. I was always worried that one little portion of what I said or did was going to be misconstrued. So it's like, okay, I got to wear a suit every day. I got to look perfect. I got to have the right things to say. I can't say anything potentially risque because that would be bad. You know, people are going to vote for you. If you say one thing that people don't like, you start getting comments like, you had my vote, just lost my vote, you know, all that kind of stuff. And it really became this, oh my gosh, you could have a discussion for an hour and everything makes sense. You say one wrong word, lost my vote, right? So I became, and I always go back to this because I always said like I wouldn't change. But even though I said I wouldn't change and people are like, Kevin, don't change, I changed. I became so worried about the clip. I became so worried about being perfect that I kind of lost the the Kevin that I was. It's kind of sad to say that, even though I'm kind of laughing about it, because it's really depressing that that happens in politics, and it's something that you don't even realize is happening unless you actually look back and reflect upon it. So, how does all this relate to the hair? Well, it substantially does, because my hair came right after the election, and in my opinion, it was the perfect way to say, F that. F caring about being clipped. F caring about being politically correct. I'm going to say what I think and do what I feel. And if green hair is a way for me to look at stupid comments like this and go, screw you. If you don't like the information that I'm providing because my hair is too bright for you, well, F off. I don't care. Like, unsub, leave, screw off. You suck. Like, you are a shallow idiot. See, I can't say that in politics because a candidate goes off and melts down, calls someone a shallow idiot, like, get over it. And so that's the beautiful thing in America is we have freedoms to express ourselves and do things that we want, unless you're in politics. Then you really have to mold to this narrative. And so to me, the hair is really a protest of politics. And I purposefully did not choose red or blue because that would be politically associated. I didn't choose purple either because anytime I would wear a purple tie, people were like, oh, there's Kevin being in the middle with politics. So I chose green and allowed green. So I don't know that I'll dye my hair again, so it'll probably just grow away. So soon, at some point, we'll have green tips. But yeah, that's the best I got. That's why. And it really, I think it took a lot of sort of hindsight analysis to figure it out. There wasn't a bet. There wasn't sort of one thing that's like, oh yeah, this is why. It was a little bit of everything. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this explanation. I know it's kind of an odd one, but anyway, we'll see you in the next one. Thanks again. Bye.